Magdril is a half-orc war cleric of a god named Torn, a god with graying hair who rides a massive orange metallic dragon. A temple to Torn was destroyed in the town of Phandalin by a cruel white dragon named Cryovane. Phandalin is a small farming and mining town. She got a cart and horses and traveled with a human paladin named Hyde. As they traveled to Phandalin, an elf ranger slunk in the bushes behind them, following them. Up ahead, they saw a figure in the bushes, a halfling man with light brown hair, dressed in leather armor, a black withered wand on his belt. He wore a patch on his armor, depicting the dragon Cryovane. He had an undead zombie dog with him, the size of a Great Dane. Magdril used a spell called Thaumaturgy to boom her voice as she shouted, "Stinky!" The halfling was startled as he ran away. In his haste, the halfling left his undead pup behind. Hyde was able to calm the undead dog by giving him food, although it was difficult. Hyde and Magdril joked about eating the dog and perhaps even killing one another. They decided to keep the skittish dog, naming him General. They continued on. The elven ranger accidentally stepped on a stick, snapping it loudly. Magdril and Hyde noticed her. Magdril made her voice boom again, shouting at the elf, "We see you!" In response, the elf fled as the cart barreled behind them. The cart stopped in a clearing, the elf heading off to find owlbear tracks. In the clearing there was the halfling. He had a caravan filled with prisoners. The prisoners were a non-binary tiefling druid, an old married couple, and an elven man. The four of them were having a party in Phandalin before they were kidnapped by the halfling. Magdril asked the halfling to examine his cart. The halfling assumed this half-orc was a traveling guard and allowed her to examine the cart. She untied the prisoners' bonds and let them free. She continued talking with the halfling, sweet-talking him and luring him into a sense of security. He told her about how he worked for the dragon Cryovane and was planning on bringing these prisoners to the dragon on top of a mountain called the Icespire Peaks. She tried to whisper to the prisoners to flee, planning to surprise the halfling and attack him, but the halfling heard her say her plans. The tiefling was able to leap out of the cart, but they were noticed by the halfling. The other prisoners got out too, running towards Phandalin. Combat broke out in the clearing. Hyde lunged forward, slamming down his blade. The elf heard the commotion, returning to the clearing. She shot the halfling in the back with her longbow. The halfling brought up his hands, healing some of the wounds with glowing magical energy. The tiefling brought up their hands, coating the halfling in an icy spell called Frostbite. Lastly, the half-orc lifted up her hand as the radiant sparks of guiding bolt began to form. The blast hit the halfling necromancer, killing him. The elven ranger emerged from the forest, introducing herself under the name Raven. The party checked the halfling's bags as they found 5 gold pieces, a card declaring VIP membership in a nearby casino for him, food, water, a map of the mountain with words written in code on it, and his black wand. Raven tried to decode the words of the map, but she couldn't figure it out. The party then decided to burn the halfling's body. The ranger found owlbear tracks in the forest, which the party followed. They found a cavern in the midst of the mountain range, the dragon living on top of it. The party found an owlbear mother and her baby. The tiefling druid used magic to talk with the mother. It was hard, but they were able to convince her to allow their child to help them up the mountain later on and allowed them to sleep there. Raven was able to hunt down some deer, bringing back their meat. She made sure the deer had a proper burial and thanked their spirits. The other 3 were able to find some gemstones. Hyde found the most valuable stone, a red one, while the tiefling and Magdril found blue stones. After eating by a fire, the party went to sleep. The tiefling's dreams were filled with the halfling being cruel, using their improper pronouns and name while they were imprisoned. Magdril's dreams included her god Torm telling her that he believed in her and knew she would succeed. In the middle of the night, Magdril woke up, walking over to slap Hyde awake, planning to talk to him and perhaps even prank him. His loyal zombie pup General ran over. She decided against it and went to sleep. In the morning, the tiefling woke up, thinking of heading further up the cavern. As they headed up the rocky path, they saw luminescent moss on the ground. Suddenly, they heard 2 voices, the first gruff and stern, talking about capturing the party of adventurers and bringing them to the dragon. The second voice was airy and high-pitched, and she agreed with him, but mentioned how she was glad the annoying halfling was dead. They headed back to tell the group about what they saw. Once the rest of the party awoke, they began to cook breakfast. They took the halfling's rations, trying to make sure they weren't poisoned. From Magdril's sense of smell, she guessed they weren't poisoned. Eventually, the tiefling druid returned. When Hyde heard about the 2 guards, one of them being a woman, he jokingly said, "I can't hit a girl." The party continued eating breakfast as they began to plan. Journey, the tiefling, talked about the owlbear, asking the mother to come with them. The owlbear mother showed Journey her arm, wounds covering it, and feathers had turned black from the halfling necromancer's attacks. Journey tried to heal the wound, but it failed. The group debated going back to town to buy warm clothes. Raven began to knit clothes out of the deer hide. The group decided against it as they took all the items off the cart. Journey talked with the horses, telling them to take the cart and go back to Neverwinter, the place where Hyde and Magdrel got them, since they believed the horses it wouldn't be a good idea to take them further up the mountain. They headed up the path, Journey and the baby owlbear leading them, but one of them loudly stepped on a rock, crushing it. The two guards noticed them, each of them being orcish. One orc was burly, the second had a wand, a rune-covered book over her back. They asked Magdrel if these were her prisoners, and she lied, saying that they were. The orcs bought her lie. The orcs told her about how they had an encampment here, and how they had laid siege to a dwarven city on a higher level of the mountain. They had been able to take the dwarven queen to the dragon, who sacrificed her. They were currently having a blockade around the town, the dwarven king and princess still alive. They began leading them through the encampment. There were plenty of tents with humans, white dragonborns, and orcs moving from tent to tent, talking about how best serving the dragon. A path led further above to the dwarven city. As they led them through the town, Raven was able to sneakily befriend a raven. Journey tried to befriend a bat, but they experienced less luck. To show that Magdrel would take care of her prisoners, she took the pommel of Hyde's sword and knocked Journey out. They walked through the small town. They saw multiple carts with prisoners of war in them. They saw a store called Cragdrel's Pawn and Bank Shop. The owner was an old orc with white mutton chops and a balding head. The party sold one of the stones. Raven bought a bat, owl, and a runty phoenix, and Hyde bought 6 pearls that could be thrown as they would explode on impact. Hyde had an idea for a plan to free the prisoners and escape. He brought magical ammonium fertilizer and magical bleach as he put them in a cup and began to shake it, making mustard gas inside. He also found a bag of discarded flour. Hyde and Magdrel pretended to fight as they began to draw a crowd of onlookers. Raven snuck off, freeing prisoners and soldiers and telling them to steal weapons from the barracks. She also started spreading the dry flour in the barracks. The fighting between Magdrel and Hyde became more serious, and Magdrel lashed out with her war hammer, and Hyde returned blows with his fists. Eventually the fighting ended as Magdrel healed a brutally beaten Hyde. The freed prisoners began to fight the nearby orcs as they began to win. Hyde used one of the pearls to blow up the barracks, and Raven shot the fleeing orcs, while Journey used a spell to damage evil warriors too. Raven also quickly went up to the leader of the ragtag band of warriors that was kidnapped, a dragonborn cleric, and healed him. Hyde rushed the leader of the orcs, slashing him down with his longsword. Seeing their leader down, the orcs laid down their weapons, as did the freed warriors fighting for the party. Hyde tried to T-pose to assert dominance, but terribly failed. The dragonborn laid a curse on the party of orcs and white dragonborn, making it so they couldn't fight anyone anymore. The party also learned that the dragon had also forced the orcs to work for him. The party scavenged around, finding gold in a discarded spellbook. Journey and Magdrel had a drinking competition in an abandoned bar to see who would earn the spellbook. Journey won. Hyde tried to stack up containers of alcohol onto the cart, but after a strange freak accident, all of them were broken except for one. They stole an orcish cart, basically. Raven sent back her raven to return with the horses and their own cart that was in Neverwinter. As they waited, Journey began to tame a possum. 6 days later, the wagon returned with the horses. And yeah, that is it. Like I said, this campaign isn't going to continue, but I had a lot of fun playing it.